Meet us at the tavern, have a drink or two. I'm the eclectic goat, and I'm here to play with you. We'll discuss the theory and the mechanics, how we ask for crits, Dungeons and Dragons and Wizards.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to what I am going to dub the MacGyver Show. So, for those of you who missed my little panic, about 45 minutes ago, we were expecting a creator of the game Tiny D10 to join us on the show. And when I went to send him the link, this showed up.
Well, I mean, that doesn't seem like that's a problem.
No, not at all. So, we're doing some kind of on-the-fly adapting tonight. I certainly hope that he is okay. I did get a one-sentence thing that said, "Sorry to leave you in the lurch. I have to delete everything."
I'm picturing him standing on the edge of a waterfall with Tommy Lee Jones pointing a gun at him, I didn't kill anybody.
No, I think it's more like, he realizes the feds are closing in. He's trying to delete everything in a hurry.
Getting audited.
Yeah.
The Doge team, they're coming after me.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's hard to say what happened. I mean, he obviously did not. Okay, this is worth mention. He got so tiny he disappeared.
Yeah. His final form.
Oh, that reminds me. I found a horror. Melvin sent me a horror YouTube channel the other day, and they have merch, and one of the merch is Gonzo's final form, and it's hysterical. Oh. I wish I could remember the name of the channel because everyone should go check it out. Anyway, so I do hope everything's okay. He obviously did not just ghost me. So he wasn't just being a jerk.
This is what I should do when I ghost a woman. Just do like a cryptic, "I'm out. I gotta go. Sorry."
She'll spend her whole life just thinking you were a secret agent.
Yeah. They're getting near. I have to delete all of my contacts.
It's for your own safety.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
if they question you, never admit you knew me.
Yeah, it's for your own safety. I was never here. If a woman calls and asks if I was here,
she's one of them.
Stay alive. Whatever occurs, I will find you.
I will find you. I mean, if nothing else, you give her a great story to tell, right? Yeah. And that's what matters.
That's what we learned from that True Lies movie with Bill Paxton. These women just want stories.
Yeah.
They just want a little excitement.
Hot sauce on your pizza. It depends on the hot sauce.
Yeah, I love Louisiana hot sauce is great on pizza. Also sriracha, not bad on pizza.
I love sriracha, but it has soy in it, and I discovered about 6 months ago I had a soy allergy. So I've been super sad because there are like 3 things I really miss, and one of them is sriracha.
Well, I think Louisiana is my favorite of all the vinegar-based buffalo-style hot sauces. Grew up on it.
The thing is, I can't stand Tabasco sauce or anything that smells like it.
Yeah, Tabasco's it's got too much of a distinct kind of acidy flavor. I don't know.
Oh, I have stories about Tabasco
It's too sour. It's like tangy,
Yeah.
Louisiana's salty, I like it.
So, when I was a kid, I had very, very long hair.
Like how long? Down to your feet? Down to your ankles? Down to your knees?
Down past my butt, anyway.
Okay, all right.
Um,
Mid-thigh.
and I would chew on the ends of it. So my mother's answer to this was to dip the very ends of it in Tabasco sauce, because when I was a kid, I had no spice tolerance at all.
Wow.
So that was fine. I mean, it worked really well, and there was a whole thing about like kids will get hairballs if you like let them chew on
Yeah.
their hair. So like,
Yeah.
I mean, it made sense. But the problem is that I had a babysitter, and it was going to be like a late night babysitter. So she told the babysitter, I need you to renew the hot sauce on her hair like every 4 hours, because otherwise it wears off. Well, she said renew the Tabasco sauce on her hair, not dip her hair.
Just the hair ends, yeah. So you got a full
So,
massage of the scalp with Tabasco.
so she upended my head over the sink and put the whole bottle over my head. And when you're like 4, it turns out you can in fact get second-degree burns off Tabasco sauce.
Yeah.
Fun.
And I have never been able to stand the smell of Tabasco sauce ever since. I mean, I was like 4 at the time. It's like one of my earliest memories. I still remember that smell.
Well,
So yeah, can't do Tabasco sauce.
thank
Couldn't
you
do
for
spices.
that trauma dump right there. Holy Lord.
Couldn't do Tabasco sauce for a very long time after that. I mean, nowadays, other than the fact that I don't like the smell of Tabasco sauce, it's one of those memories that was horrible at the time and now seems kind of funny.
But
In a really dark kind of way.
but yeah, you're right about like chewing your hair. Like there was that Indian woman who went to the hospital and they cut her stomach open and it was like a hairball the shape of her stomach, like just full because she'd been chewing your hair and eating your hair for like years or decades. It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
But yeah, you were telling me about Sammy's Oathbreaker pizza, right? You got to ask Sammy about the Oathbreaker. I'm like, oh, what's this? And
Did you
he's
ever
like,
do that?
dude, it's pineapple and anchovies. I was like, I get that all the time. That is a cool name for it. That's a cool name for it, though. I like it.
I really thought that was just a disgusting thing he made up.
Sweet and salty. If you don't like anchovies, maybe do pineapple and black olives.
Speaking of trauma dumping,
Stop.
Eraserhood is now trauma.
No, I like the Pearl Harbor. It's the Hawaiian pizza with jalapenos.
I think you have universally just destroyed my
Yeah,
chat.
I wouldn't want anchovies ruined in such a fashion. It's,
Oh God.
So the thing that was really amazing to me was that there was this discussion going on about pineapple pizza that then kind of wandered into anchovies. The people who hated pineapple the most liked anchovies, and the people who hated anchovies the most liked pineapple.
See, I like both. And if you don't got a problem with pineapple, then try not getting tomato sauce. Get it on Alfredo sauce pizza, white pizza. There you go. Well, tomatoes work. You can get anything to work on a pizza. You can put chocolate on a pizza on the right. You can make anything work on a pizza.
At that point, it's not a pizza; it's a dessert.
Yeah, we were talking about we were watching 28 Weeks Later earlier. We were joking about fish and chips pizza, like a pizza with French fries and fried fish on it. But we're like, honestly, you put like a tartar sauce base or something, you probably make it work. Sure.
I mean, just eat fish tacos then. It's
Exactly.
a lot easier.
So anyway, this is going to be a bit of a MacGyver. I can't talk. MacGyver adapt and overcome show. On top of it, Leon is with us, but is having also a bit of a crisis and will be kind of in and out as he goes. So Leon, when you can, wave.
Leon joining the stream from work like a good boy.
There's an objective answer to pineapple versus anchovies. Frozen Hawaiian pizzas are common. Frozen anchovy pizzas are not. Can you freeze anchovies? I would think the oil would. There's so much oil in them. I don't think they could freeze.
Well, what's also cool is you don't need to freeze them. You don't need. They're
they're
salty.
already preserved.
There's no bacteria growing on those.
Right, but if you tried to have an anchovy pizza, I feel like it would get damaged.
I mean, you can freeze oils. They just get very solidified.
They get all cloudy.
Yeah.
There's I got cans of anchovies in my pantry right now. It's Italian MSG is what we call it.
Yeah.
In fact, the best pizza sauces or tomato sauces, they probably got anchovies in them. It's a secret ingredient.
Yep.
Racer said Goat's luck went to shit ever since she tried to get me on a panel. No. I'm pretty sure that like the worst technical difficulties I ever had were my second show long before I tried to get you on a panel.
Oh.
So what we're going to do is a little bit less structured than we usually do, lots more conversation. And I had been giving some consideration to changing things up a little bit for the month of March. And what we're going to do is we are, in fact, going to do that, and we're going to do it on the fly.
Cool.
Instead of planning it out nice and tidy for next month, we're just going to start it now. Yes, Tater, you absolutely have to come on the show at some point, but you have to play a game first.
Why? I didn't play any games, and I got on.
Well, yeah, but you're here for special purposes.
Potato
so-
plays trivia.
I don't think that counts as an underrated game, though.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it's what kind of trivia you're discussing as to how common or not it is.
There is that.
When Go was telling me about this show, I was like, "Oh, I know this game called Puerto Rico," and then we looked it up, and it's like it's actually very popular. I was like, "Oh,
yeah,
okay."
I had never heard of it, and it turns out it's one of the most popular board games ever.
Well, I was happy to hear that because I told you, I was like, I played it randomly. That's a fun game. I played it randomly. My sax player showed me that game like years ago, and we played like 3, hour-long rounds with it, and it was great. I think they were like 2-hour rounds actually, but yeah, that was a fun game.
All right, Tater, that's not what we mean, and you know that.
Yeah, my I offered Goat 2 options of games I played in my misbegotten youth, and one of them she was like, "I've never heard of that, and I have no idea where that's from." And I was like, "Well, then maybe not that one."
Yeah.
Here's another one.
What was the other one? I've forgotten.
It was Gamma Marauders.
Now, see, that's really weird because usually I go for the game I've never heard of.
Yeah, I mean, I played it. We used to play Risk all the time at the box office I worked at the Irwin Center. We'd play these, group games of Risk, and they'd last weeks because we'd play them, while we weren't on calls and stuff, like sporadically, and then we'd leave after the day was over and leave the board where it was and come back and pick it up the next day. And these games would last for like almost a month, and especially after we got really good at it, they were rowdy. But what else? I mean, most of the games, like, does Farkle count? I mean, that's like a game. I mean, the games I know are pretty mainstream.
Well, I mean, there are mainstream games that are still underappreciated, though. I do want to take a quick second to say hello to Honor Hawk, mainly because I don't remember ever seeing him in the chat before, and I always want to make sure to greet new people.
Nice.
Mainly because everyone else I will probably make fun of at some point during the night, or will make fun of me at some point during the night, so...
Yeah. Man, I remember I met a guy. I know a guy from karaoke out here, and he invited me to some friend of theirs. They did like tabletop game night, and I went one time and played a game that some kind of Space Marine style game, some kind of Warhammer style game, and they're playing it for hours and hours, and I barely understood how to play the game. Sort of by the end of this, 5-hour, 6-hour ordeal.
So Lord Toxic says, Goodwin, what was Kick the Can like? Didn't hate help distract from the Great Depression.
I mean, you must have been one of those rich ones that could afford cans.
Yeah, a can? That's a luxury.
I mean, like, rocks were way more common.
Right. Kick the rock.
Or, considering where my family grew up, potatoes.
We used to play Pin the Tail on the Heretic during the Inquisition. That was a lot of fun.
Oh, there you go.
We had to use our imagination to play Kick the Can.
Yeah. We just got a bent stick and called it a can.
We need a soundboard of just various goat sounds. So, for those of you who have never been on the Yarn Witches stream, she streams a lot of kind of strange, chaotic, cartoony games. And every time, normally I can't do game streams because I get motion sick off watching other people do first-person shooters. But she does these weird two-dimensional cartoony games. I'm fine. Every time I go in her chat, someone will play that sound bit of the little kid going, "It's a fucking goat."
Nice.
So apparently that is my intro everywhere now.
I like the one where the goat goes, "Ah!"
Oh, Honor Hawk is Richard. Okay, excellent. Honor Hawk, you actually are part of my announcement. So, what we're gonna do is I've been getting a lot of like, um, making great games is great, writing books is great, creation is great. I have these ideas, but I don't really know how to implement them. Um, and the idea was I wanted to have people on who could tell you how to do that. Uh, Authors, I'm pretty much sticking to my indie interview thing. What was it like being self published? How did you get your ideas? How did you actually find the time to write? But as far as games and other creative endeavors, pardon me, what I'm going to do is Enzo's going to start out by talking about graphics because it's really hard to, I mean, you can write a game, but if you're making a board game, you need graphics on the cover. You need something that's going to grab people's attention. Um, I then have somebody uh, on the 5th of March who is kind of halfway through a board game who's going to talk about what it's like to put together a template to try and, actually go to publishers to talk about your game. Um, and the real life fake wizard is going to come on and talk about marketing because he actually does that. And then on the 19th, Richard and the other creators for the game Knight, which is an extremely popular game in France for role playing, they're going to come and talk about what it was like to put that game together and then to try and they're in the process of trying to expand that to the rest of the world. So they're going to kind of put all the pieces together for us. And hopefully everybody can find out what this whole thing is like and maybe it'll inspire. No, Otter, I'm sorry, we can't start over. You're just going to have to be on time next time. So that's the plan to, like I said, this is still going to be a little bit MacGyver-esque because I had not planned on starting this until next month. But yeah, that's what we're going to do.
Sweet.
So, Leon, I assume you're still booked up. So we're going to start with Enzo.
Yeah, I'm actually looking up a buddy buddy of mine who actually I'm just remembering, like, didn't he have like a upstarted board game? Probably just obviously not for today, but I mean I gotta touch base with that guy, maybe get him involved with you. But yeah, as far you were telling me a story earlier about a guy who was writing a book, and he spent a bunch of money on the cover and foregone paying an editor. That is not a good idea. You should pay your editor first. The contents of inside a book is more important than the cover. On a board game, though, I think the graphics are just as important, if not more important. People are, very stupid when it comes to flashy images and awesome artwork. In fact, I'd imagine if you were a good illustrator and you had some cool drawings and designs, like making a board game would be a really good way to implement like certain character designs and stuff. Because drawing a comic book, for instance, is very difficult because you got to learn how to draw everything. You don't just learn how to draw cool guys in cool poses, with cool armor. You got to learn how to draw, foreshortened tables and airplanes and trees and streets and cars and everything. You got to learn how to draw everything, and it's in clothing. Whereas with a game or a board game of some kind, like, yeah, you can base the game around some cool drawings you have. And they could be drawings of settings. They could be drawings of illustrations of characters, or like I think back to when I was a kid. I bought this card game called Rage. It was like a werewolf game. Never played it. I just looked at the awesome werewolf art on each card. It was like, dude, sick. It's like just awesome drawings of paintings of werewolves. Just every one is a different cool. It's just same thing with like a lot of the Magic Gathering stuff,
I
And yeah,
I have for the record, there are several games that I run, but I bought most of the supplements not to run them, but because the art was amazing.
yeah. I mean, you could hear about a cool game and buy it, and you could think the art's whack or it's kind of weird, but if people tell you it's a fun game, but in order to get those initial people to play the game, it's like it's either got to be forced upon them by someone, or yeah, they saw something and it looked cool. It just grabs their attention. It's either a cool setting or a cool idea. Like the Puerto Rico game did not interest me. The name, it's just like the artwork for Puerto Rico is like simply like agriculture kind of stuff. You got pictures of people farming and various like crops, illustrations of that kind of stuff. So, it looks a little boring, but you have a friend of yours telling you, no, this game's amazing. We're going to have a great time playing it. It's like, okay, it wins you over. And then at that point, it's like, I'll play any kind of game with these kind of rules, and I'm sure there are like Puerto Rico clones out there that I don't know about. But like the space game I talked about, like going over to this guy's house and playing this Warhammer style game. It was all about the artwork, the alien breeds that you're all at war, and also not just that, but the little 3D printed little plastic icons and items you have. All that stuff is just really important, and also that's a big money maker, obviously. Buying all the expansion packs and the neat stuff, but yeah, you got to get someone to make it. You got to get someone to design it. I'd imagine, like, are most of these aspiring board game creators? Are most of them? Do they have fields in like, is their interest mostly in the story driven? Like, are they writers? Because I'd imagine a lot of them would probably be like, yeah, graphic artists or illustrators of some kind.
I think it's hard to say because most of what I see is in the chat of people saying, I have ideas, but I don't really know what. But I mean, part of the thing is like, how do you find someone to help you if you like? I have zero artistic talent. Like AI does my work for me because I'm dumb. So how do you find someone to help you? How do you make sure that the pay is reasonable? Like, I mean, is there a there is a literally a national editors thing which tells you the average prices for editing. Is there a way
Sure.
to determine whether or not somebody's ripping you off?
I mean, it generally determines on how many hours someone's putting into it, obviously. And like I said, art is subjective. Art, you could have someone put thousands of hours into an amazing painting, but if no one's willing to pay more than $100 for it, then it's worth $100. But if someone sees a picture of a banana taped to a wall and wants to pay $5 million for that, that is worth $5 million. And so, I mean, as a graphic artist, whenever I get, and I've done all kinds of stuff. I've done headphone packaging recently. I've done tons of logo design and branding and festival flyers, and I've done a children's book one time. I've done all kinds of stuff, and a board game would be no different, where I would just ask, what's your budget, and work around that. So, I mean, what are you willing to spend to get it made? And yeah, probably don't say, oh, I want to pay $100, $500. Something like a board game is going to be pretty intensive, I'd imagine, unless that's an interesting thing to think about now. Because of AI art, it'd be very likely someone could be like, hey, I need a board game designed. Here's all the artwork. Like, I'll just supply you the artwork that I want used. And my job would just be to like format it, put it on cards and put it on, make a box design. But if like the artwork's already done, yeah, that would save you a chunk of change for sure. I mean, I'd probably do that for, $1,000 or less, even, maybe. Who knows? I don't know. That seems like something that could be easy. But yeah, I'd imagine if I wanted to do all that stuff, illustrating, I mean, just think about how much I would probably pay for an individual illustration. I mean, I don't know what these, like, for instance, Magic the Card games, like, I imagine Magic the Gathering, like, each of those artists gets paid a pretty good, like a comic book page rate, sometimes like a page rate for comic book artists can range from like $100 to $1,000 a page, who knows? But I think a lot of them get like $300-400 a page.
For really small games, I think they might actually do like they're part owner or something, but I it probably depends a
Oh,
lot
right.
on
Yeah. Getting paid in royalties or percentages or, yeah, all that stuff. Of course, you got to be careful, like how many people you get, you break off pieces of percentages, But yeah, I mean, I would think that, like, finding an artist is not hard at all, especially with social media nowadays. Because, and that's what I'm thinking now, like this year of our Lord 2025, it's probably easier than ever. Let's say I need to make a deck of cards. I need to make getting the little creatures, the little player, what are they called? The little items you play with, the pieces. Do they have a cool board game name that I don't know about, like lingo wise?
I mean, are you talking about the minis?
Yeah, minis. What is that? What they're called? The little plastic things that you have that are
Well, yeah, I mean,
shaped.
yeah, you have
I
you
mean,
just have the
the fancy,
pieces, but if you're talking about like tabletop stuff, yeah, then you have the minifigures
The
and all
minis.
that.
Okay, yeah. Nowadays, even like getting them, like the idea, like just 10, 20 years ago, the idea of trying to go get a bunch of minis made, you'd probably have to talk to some factory in China or something. But now it's like, how many? I know at least 8 people that own 3D printers, and they just print all kinds of crazy crap with them. And so like the idea that even making those is probably not that far fetched or that implausible. It's the same thing with music. Like it's just so accessible right now, and so the ease of access, the ability to do it, um, and that should be obviously very encouraging for anyone that's aspiring to do it. You've been putting it off. It's only getting easier to do it, But I guess the main thing is just like with Nintendo video games, like if it's really like obviously the artwork will get people like into it initially, but the gameplay is what's going to get people to determine if you have a hit or not. If it's a fun game, I mean, look at Twister. It's a white mat with colored spots on it. That game is a classic, and I know it's not a board game, but you know what I mean.
so some people are talking about the fact that some games, even if the gameplay isn't great, the graphics are so great they become collectibles.
Yeah, I was
There
just
have been
talking
a
about those card game, the werewolf card game. Like I still have a big stack of them somewhere in my big bookcase.
So there are a couple that were mentioned. Winter Tales, which is apparently a board game, and Alice something. I'm sorry, I've lost it in the comments.
Alice Madness Returns aesthetic.
Yeah, that. And honestly, even Games Workshop, there's a joke that there are people that play Warhammer and there are people that collect Warhammer.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm looking at the Winter Tales artwork, and this is pretty cool stuff. It's
I'd never heard of either of them, so I'm kind of interested.
Yeah, it's pretty wild looking. I mean, I guess I could share my screen. I guess is that or what?
You should be able to, yeah.
Yeah, should I? That's what I was. Now I'll do it.
I
Let's
mean,
see.
I can't find a good picture, so
Yeah. I mean, let's see. How's that working? Like I can pull up this tab. Oh, that's not high quality images. It's very what's it reminding me of? Kind of like Mirror Mask, Alice in Wonderland
I
style,
was
Tim
thinking.
Burton esque.
I was gonna say it was reminding me of Tim Burton.
Yeah. But
So at
this is
least it's kind
cool.
of
Like,
different.
and it's a vibe. I'm getting like goth vibes.
Hmm.
Corpse Bride type stuff. Yeah, and this reminds me, I did do an illustration of a deck of Old Maid cards. If you're familiar with the little game Old Maid.
Wow, talk about classic games.
Right. I had to draw like what was it, like I don't remember. It's like a couple dozen characters or something for some guy. That was fun. But yeah, and then I learned what the game Old Maid was too, and I'm like, this game's fun. If you're 80 years old. Yeah,
Or
this is
very or very, very young.
yeah. Yeah, it was. I mean, Old Maid's kind of like Go Fish, right, or something like that. I don't know. No, it's some kind of match game. There's 2 of every card. It's basically all I remember. um, yeah. Here's
So
Arthurian
something like
Knights.
a role-playing game sometimes doesn't have a lot of graphics inside, but the cover is
Right.
really important. What if somebody wanted you to design just a cover for a role-playing game?
Yeah, I mean, I charge. I mean, like for instance, like I said, I'd work with your budget. Like I have a guy. It'd be no different from doing like a band poster, like a single one-off. Custom. Piece of art. Suppose they want something on the cheaper side, then yeah, maybe we'll do just like some fancy logo and some kind of abstract textures and things like that. You want something to, like high dollar. You want something. This is a great little. I don't know what this game is, but I'm interested. I can, and this is enough to use your imagination a little bit. This is like enough information in this one image to kind of when we go about the game and play, and people are telling me what to do. The dungeon master per se, you can kind of use your head a little bit and kind of think what it should kind of look like. Yeah, I don't know. Something like this. I mean, like I said, it's totally up to if someone like something like this. That's the other beauty about AI. Someone tells you, "Hey, I want to pay $100 for a crazy piece of art." It's like, well, don't be surprised if they give you back some AI or some clip art or some 3D assets or something. They're gonna cut corners.
Well,
You
that's
tell
kind of what I was wondering. Is there some people that feel very strongly about not using AI, but I don't know that most people would be able to tell the difference between graphic art and
well,
AI
that's
unless there are six fingers.
Well, no, I mean that's the thing is like that would be a thing is like you could take AI art and use it for inspiration, come up with ideas and then just kind of redraw what you're seeing. Or the other thing about AI, you could use AI for textures and background. Like how this background here has this kind of like fuzz. Like you get these like paper textures and stuff you can find on the internet. They really give it this sense of like. You see like these little spots here, these little paper spots like this. This makes it look real. It makes it look not digital. And usually you go on Google Images and find something, or you pay for texture packs. But now with AI, you can just, hey, make me a paper texture. I do that kind of stuff all the time for like little textures that really just step up the artwork a bit. Um, and as far as using AI, I mean, the problem with AI is like, yeah, you don't know if you're getting AI or not. There are ways to tell, especially with like, when you're really familiar with it, you can tell. It's easy to take like a graphic artist can take AI and maybe smooth out the rough edges and make it look a little better. But the other problem with AI is now you have artists who actually do draw this stuff. Like someone could see this art and be like, "This is AI, bro. You're using AI." And it's like now you have to like prove that you did it. You got to show like pencils and inks and stuff. I've seen it happen many times. Usually
Yeah,
it's like jealous
the
artists.
the same issue actually is coming up in. So I mean, for those who don't know, I am primarily a writer, and there's a real big thing now about most editors, if you're freelancing, will run your works through AI. Um, what do they call them? Like
Like a
an AI
detector.
detector.
Yeah.
The problem is that most of my work involves a lot of really scientific research, and so I get used to thinking in words that are far bigger than we really need for the average person. And I would probably be picked up as being AI simply because I use words that the average person wouldn't use.
Oh yeah.
Um, and it's really been a problem because there are a lot of people that have lost work. Not me, but so far, knock on wood. There are a lot of people that have lost work because they were accused of being using AI to do their writing.
Yeah.
And whether they did or not, it's hard to
Whether they
say.
did or
But
not, exactly. Yeah. You
Yeah, the
can't you
biggest
can't
problem is
prove a
that
negative.
right AI detectors for the most part are shit. They don't actually work. If they did, the AI companies would use them to help fine tune their
Right.
language models, but they don't. Right. The closest you'll get is there tends to be certain words that show up more often in certain types of AI generated work than in others. So you could do a frequency analysis, but again, some of those words are words that are commonly used by me, writing or speaking. That it's not used by most people. That doesn't really mean anything. And again, it's always about genre. Um, you don't have enough of a sample size in a lot of things to be able to detect it.
yeah, right. I would just want to address Rachel's comment. She said, I work with a screenwriter and he can't get anyone to take his work as his own. He hears this as AI all the time. Yeah, that is really an issue. Screenwriters have it especially hard because there's a certain way you have to write. I can edit scripts. I don't think I could ever write one.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Usually, a lot of script like there's a what's the word I'm looking for? Like layouts that you just download and it does all the layout for you. The way they're oriented,
Yeah, the
which is pretty
formatting.
cool. Yeah, the formatting. Thank you. I guess I'm gonna stop sharing my screen, so you might want to remove my screen because I know if I just stop sharing screen on Evenux, some weird stuff happens. There you go.
your timing is actually good because I wanted to share a couple of things, because style is really different too, and
Totally.
this is about as separate from what you were sharing as I could possibly come up with. So
Yeah.
Yes, there is in fact a Dark Souls role-playing game, and with a little tweaking, it's absolutely awesome. I've only gotten to play it once or twice, but well, actually, I've never played it. I ran it because I
You
run
have
all
to
the horror
roll the
stuff.
dice to roll left or roll right to avoid being hit. Because that's generally how
Um,
you play Dark Souls. Is you're constantly rolling to get away from attacks.
yeah, no, it's very different from the actual video game, but it's still very hard. I mean, like one of the reasons I like it is that there are too many 5e gave a lot of players the idea that they never have to worry about their characters ever being injured or
Uh huh.
hurt or anything like that, um, which is just not how it goes. Um, and it's very tough. Like you go into it expecting that things aren't necessarily going to go well. Um, and it's interesting because I have not played the video game, but apparently once you get really good at the video game, there's a version where you just go with like no armor and no weapon and try and get through the whole thing.
Right. Yeah.
So there is actually a character class in the role playing game based on that idea, where you literally start out with no memory, no equipment, no nothing. Um, though of course you're in a party instead of a single player game, so that makes it a little different. So,
Yeah.
Leon, I noticed you're unmuted, but Evie Mux occasionally will just mute people anyway, so that I can't actually hear them. So everyone else should be able to hear you. Yell if you wanted to say something, because I didn't mean to leave you out, but I know you're
Blink,
really busy.
blink twice, Leon.
Yeah. He's
That is
deleting his social accounts even as we speak.
as we speak.
Yeah.
2 for 2.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a really good point too. Screenwriter is also autistic. Yeah, one of the things that it picks up as AI tends to be people who are, I hate to use this term because it's way overused, but people who are neurodivergent tend to get picked up as AI because the computer's like, oh, a normal person doesn't think that way.
Right. I mean, again, though, the biggest problem is that the detectors are bullshit. I mean, they're not reliable enough to actually detect AI, and they have way too many false positives.
I hear there are words like, I mean, I know there are, but like something like delves. Delves is a word that AI uses a lot. Let's delve.
Right. There's a
into
certain
this.
frequency analysis you can use, but again, it depends on the genre that you're
Yeah.
writing.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, delve is a word that I would use on a
Right.
regular basis.
Hey, I just want to say, Honor Hawk, I totally agree. One of the reasons I don't play the video game is I don't like video games where the entire basis is you just memorize what's coming and just keep going through it. But the role playing game is quite good. I do like the role playing game a lot. So this is Shadow of the Demon Lord, which is also kind of gray, but like the more you look at it, the more details you pick out. So I assume that as a graphic artist, that would be incredibly complicated and incredibly hard to manage, and probably very expensive. Did I lose everybody?
No, I did find that my buddy who made a game, he does have a board game. It's on Amazon, and apparently on this boardgamegeek.com, it's got a 8 out of 10. That's pretty good, right?
Yeah.
It's some game called Blood Runes. Weird. It's like, hey, I'm kind of interested in that thing you were doing because I'm on a show talking about board games now. Yeah.
Well, hey, send him onto the show.
I'll send him your info. It's like the year is 846 AD and the dawn of the Viking Age. The legends of Ragnar Lodbrok and his conquests have spread across the known world. It does. I mean, it's just a big description, but it does say something interesting here on this website. This is my buddy Zach's description, but he says that warning. Blood Runes is a 2 to 4 player game. It takes about an hour to play. Great for mind-bending afternoon of gaming. Blood Runes will start fights and break up marriages. Play with caution is what it says right here. Wow. Interesting.
Excellent.
Cool.
I do want to say to Mr. Groshmal that I can attest that they would think he's AI. I'm pretty sure an AI detector would insist that you were a teddy bear.
Hell, I think some of you guys are AI. Some of my friends that I hang out with on YouTube. I don't know.
No, really, we hide behind an icon for no other reason.
I know. Even like Leon, he's on camera. He could be AI. I don't know.
He's uploading an update.
Dead internet theory, dude. You're all a bunch of fakes. It's everything. It's Smilex isn't real. No.
Well, I mean, for the record, Stupenzo, you're the one who's currently naked, so.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Oh, what of it? Just same as every other stream I'm on.
Smilex says he's definitely AI. What was the name of your friend's game?
Blood Runes. One word. A game of strategy and fortune. Zoracle Games. It's a buddy of mine.
So I was one of the things I was gonna ask was whether or not he had self-published or published through anyone else, because that's become a huge thing right now. Is whether or not, if you go through a publisher, finding a graphic artist is going to be a lot easier because the company is going to have one
totally
on. They're going to have one on staff.
Yeah, it seems like he's got some good art, but yeah, I mean, who knows? And that's the thing. It's like your self-published board game. Are you good? Is it a good game? I mean, is it worth buying still? Yeah, he had a Kickstarter, I guess, earlier last year. So that's cool. What am I
Reviewing
missing?
into Descartes for a minute.
Yeah, I don't believe in the theory of other minds. You're all hallucinations.
Yeah. Yeah.
Careful, that was like a Stephen King antagonist who believed that he was the only person who really existed.
That's
right.
That's actually a lot of serial killers.
And me. No, I'm just kidding.
I thought you were included in the serial killer. Well,
just
you haven't
wanted
been caught.
Yeah,
yet.
just wanted to clarify that. Yeah, clarify that.
Interesting. I mean, to my knowledge, No, never mind. I'm not going to finish that sentence. That's going to get off on a really weird tangent that I don't think.
Well, I mean, we're making it up as we go along. Let's go.
I was going to say, I don't think I had ever worked with anybody who believed that they were the only person that existed, to my knowledge.
No, because they would keep that to themselves for sure. They wouldn't tell.
That's not the thing you share. Yeah.
Yeah, none of you are real. No, you think silently to yourself, this person isn't even real.
I don't know. I worked with a lot of people who shared a lot of really weird things.
Yes, people that share tend to not be those who think that, because why would they?
Yeah.
I worked in the Supermax mental health ward of our state prison.
Yeah.
And at one point in time, out of the 18 people on the floor, 14 or 15 of them had killed or attempted to kill women. It was an interesting job. There's a reason I now raise goats.
Tight.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing is like severe sociopaths and psychopaths. They basically are incapable of believing the theory of other minds.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they have no empathy.
All right, so Smilax wants to know which live stream Eraserhead is on. He's going to be on my Monday one for shows you've never seen. We're going to torment him with old television that...
Yeah, it worked out so well last time.
Look, we spent hours.
Yeah, what happened?
The
I
other
heard
day.
That Eve Mux pooped all over him or something.
So part of it turned out, was an Evie Mux issue, and part of it was a connection. You know the whole turn it all off and turn it back on again?
Yes.
Yeah. Eventually, it turned out that worked.
I had one of those things, with EvMux where I came in and my internet was just showing like one bar, and then I left, popped back in, and it was fine. So it was weird. Like the host was showing clips, and they were all jittery and weird, and I was like, I'm out of here. I'll come right back, and it worked.
Well, it turned out the vocal issue was just a matter of like, we had to go through one at a time and like talking. We Jacob Ironsides helped. And we literally just did scientific method and changed one thing at a time for a couple of hours until we finally figured out where the error was.
I've had StreamYards before. I'll join and I now know the hint on it, but I've joined in like I sound, like just random noise when speaking, which is, I mean, more than usual. But the what was happening is that if the browser hasn't been like restarted long enough, you'll notice that when you speak, the microphone response is lagged.
Yeah.
And when you see that, it's like, oh, you time for a restart because things are not going
Yeah.
to work.
Whenever I host a show, I tend to restart the computer right before I go live now
Yep.
because, especially if the computer's been on for a while, I've been surfing the internet for a while, and then I'm going to go live. Usually I like move the computer in here, get stuff ready, go live within like 10, 20 minutes, turn the computer on. But like, yeah, if you're doing stuff on the computer for a couple hours, a few hours, and you decide to go live, you'll get weird, like laggy, buggery.
Yep.
Well, I mean, first of all, to my knowledge, Eraserhead has never been live. And second of all, he actually did restart several times. It was just something hadn't, one of the cords wasn't working right or something. Yeah. So apparently he was in the back room and could see and talk to us, but we could not hear or see him. So,
Oh, off stage. That is a weird thing about EvMux is the listen off stage.
so I looked this up while we were talking. So this is your,
Yeah.
yeah,
There-
that's sweet.
There's his
That's
name. I mean, this obviously doesn't look like a real. This looks like a mock-up. It'd be cool to, and all the pictures he has seem to be mock-up pictures. It would be cool to find. I mean, I didn't really look for it. Oh yeah, here's a picture of the actual game. It's out there. He had an Indiegogo and a Kickstarter, but let's see. I mean, yeah, he,
but I have to say, I would look at that box and go, huh, I kind of want to buy that game.
yeah. Well, like I said, he does have some for sale on Amazon, so I guess he did get the game made somehow. So that's cool.
I do loathe Amazon though.
No, but I mean,
No
like
matter
I said,
no matter how cool anything looks, I'm not buying it if it's only on Amazon.
right. And the board game, but the board game rating thing, I don't know how what this board game website is or how accurate this 8 out of 10 rating is. But it seems all right. Not really seeing yeah. Not really seeing anywhere else to buy it besides Amazon. Huh. Okay. But apparently he's been trying to get this game made for a few years. I'm seeing articles from 2022. Uh-huh. Interesting. Well, I have to tell my buddy Zach about it because even if the game never got made or whatever, obviously he's very interested in board games and knows a thing or two about a thing or two. If you try to make one,
Well, like I said, through March, we're going to be talking about the process of making games. So if
Yeah.
he'd like to jump in at some point, I would love to have him.
I'd imagine most people who try to make board games are people that play them and usually think, "Oh, this game would be better if blankety blank and blank," right?
A lot of games are becoming like movies. Producers are really afraid to take chances. They want, I mean, as good a game as it is, Dark Souls got made because it was a familiar name.
Right.
There are certain companies that get sold because they're really familiar names.
But when you say the games are becoming like movies, is that a bad thing or a good thing? It sounds like a bad thing.
Well, I mean, yes and no. I mean, it was fun at first when movies started like doing the IPs we know and love and making movies out of them, and then they started making terrible movies out of them, which seems to always be kind of how it goes.
Oh, you mean board games are being adapted into movies? I see. I
No,
understand.
no,
He's
other-
saying the
no,
gaming
other way
industry is
around.
becoming like the movie industry, where
Okay.
they won't make a board game unless it's based on some prior IP. Because
I gotcha.
you're
Yeah,
taking the
that's
risk,
lame.
right? Yeah.
Also,
But-
like the experience shouldn't be anything like a movie. A movie is a linear, finite story that goes one way and that's it. And when you retcon a movie or do stuff like that, that's odd to us. But like a board game should have the more possibilities, the better. Right?
Yeah, I mean,
Right, but I mean-
but it's nothing new because I can remember like in the early '80s when there was Pac-Man the board game. It was shit, I assure you.
I almost spit my water out when you
Yeah,
said
no, there was like Donkey Kong the board
Well,
game.
as-
They were
as-
that was the response that they would have.
As much as I thought it was really cool, one of the first games that we had on this show was there is a board game for the thing.
Yeah,
See, that sounds cool. When you say a board game for Pac-Man, that sounds like an old man in the 80s like, "Where's the dice? This
Yeah,
isn't
exactly.
a game."
well, but it was. I mean, for the same reason you had like Star Wars the board game, which I assure you was also shit. It was here is IP. We're going to capitalize on it via merchandising.
Now-
And if you're gonna eat the costs of having to deal with injection molds and all that stuff to make your pieces and all that stuff, then you wanna have some basis of risk off of that, and it's nothing new.
There's a
in
lot
the
of Star
games
Wars
industry.
board games.
Oh, yeah.
I'm seeing. Wow.
Big Ship, it's not just that they're learning, like, Hollywood learned all the wrong lessons, followed by video games learning all the wrong lessons, now followed by board games and role playing games learning. I mean, look at the absolute night. As much as this always seems to come up in my games, but yeah, in my streams, which I try not to, but Wizards of the Coast is falling apart.
Hmm.
The streams that covered entirely Dungeons and Dragons are falling apart
I
because they were too dependent on that one thing. And yet they're not learning the lesson, and not only are they not learning the lesson, but Pathfinder, which is what everyone played because they didn't want to play D&D, is now doing all the exact same stuff that D&D did, which
yeah.
I could see coming, and that's why I never got into it. I was like, nope, I like horror games. We're sticking with horror games.
Yeah,
I think
so
there's.
I mean,
Go
there's a
ahead.
few reasons why this is happening. One, you've had huge consolidation in the industry, and big giant corporations like predictability in revenue. They don't like surprises. They're going to be risk averse, but they also love cross promotion of things they already own.
Right.
Hasbro is so involved with merchandising from different movies and other IPs. They do the toys for them. Well, then why wouldn't you also have games that match up with that? And so they start to cross over and things. But also that safety, Wizards of the Coast bought TSR. TSR was, they took a lot of risks, which is one of the reasons that Wizards of the Coast was able to buy them. And even after that initial purchase, people began to raise their eyebrows because Wizards of the Coast behaved differently. Then they got bought by Hasbro. Oh boy.
Well, but even before they were bought by Hasbro, I don't know if you caught this show or not, but um, the first thing I showed was SLA Industries, which was a like 1980s game in its original form, and came out, around the same time that D&D was really getting popular and people were really starting to role play. And then Wizards of the Coast not only bought TSR, but started buying everyone they thought might be competition with
Right.
D&D or Magic. And the first thing they did in order to clear the way for themselves was they bought SLA Industries, which isn't even a fantasy game. It's a sci-fi game. It's a horror, sci-fi, dark sci-fi, horror, whatever, however you want to play it. And they put it out of business.
Yeah,
They just
that's why I
they
said
just
that there
shelved
was
it.
nothing. Wizards of the Coast was behaving, like ass clowns prior to that. So, but then they get bought up by Hasbro. So the one thing about Wizards of the Coast is they had magic, and that's what they knew. And then we'll buy these other things as long as they don't mess with the sacred cow that is Magic the Gathering. When they got bought by Hasbro, Hasbro looks at it and goes, here are the 18 ways that we can cross promote because corporate synergies and burble bullshit. And you have MBAs in charge instead of people that were interested in gaming and the genre, and you
Yeah.
get predictable results. But that's, again, it's consolidation. It's the same thing that you see in video games. It's the same thing that you see in movies. How many studios has EA bought? How many studios has Microsoft bought?
Well, there
They're all
was
consolidated. There's only like three major movie studios now. Yes, they have different labels for studios, but they're all owned by the same three companies, and so you
the
get the same generic crap coming out of it.
the real life fake wizard did a thing the other day too about the fact that if you look, all of the news corporations are owned by entertainment
Yeah,
corporations.
totally.
Yep.
Um,
Everything's owned by the same the 13 families or whatever the hell it is, right? It all stems back to them.
I mean, you have three major media corporations. The end.
Yeah.
And so that consolidation was not just here. I'm going to buy studios. They also included TV channels because those were spun off. You had the Time Warner mess that went into AT&T that then got spun out into its own thing, and so Discovery is somehow under Max, which is also Warner Brothers, which is it's just these giant accumulations of different companies,
Yeah.
and they're all run by MBAs.
And a couple of others. Oh, go ahead.
oh, I was just going to say, I want to back up just for a second because, first of all, like I said, I like to acknowledge people that I don't remember having seen in the chat before. So, the Santis boy, I think, or the Santiz
I think the
boy.
Santa's boys probably.
Yeah. Okay. Um, he can, he or she. Well, I assume he can tell me if I'm pronouncing it wrong. So I wanted to say welcome. And do you find you gravitate towards games from specific designers? I picked up Arcs without knowing anything other than designed and art done by the same guys as Root. Um, I I find I pick anime that way.
Yeah,
Like
I mean,
there's very little anime I like, but like there's one specific person in the anime world that no, if he makes something, I'll watch it. Games, I think I go more for genres than I do specific companies.
right. And I mean, you think of like comic book art, artists, then whatever Alex Ross does, everyone's gonna love, whatever, certain artists are just, goats. They're the best. And I'd imagine, I don't know like how big the designer names get. I know some of the Magic the Gathering illustrators have pretty big names in the world of Magic the Gathering, and they're probably successful commercial artists. But like they certainly aren't, mainstream levels names. But I'm sure in the board game side, guys, there's certain, I think when I hear, oh, this game was designed by the same, like the same, it's illustrated by the same illustrator from this game. That's probably not the same as, oh, this fun game was created by these other, the creators of this other fun game, this other awesome
Yeah,
game that was fun to play.
yeah, if I'm collecting minis, I care who the artist is. If I'm playing the game, I care who designed the game.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Right, and same, I mean that we would look at it for directors of movies
Yeah,
or writers or things like that. I mean the thing is, for a good history of board gaming and tabletop gaming, you didn't know who it was. It was merely the company,
right.
right? Like,
Mattel.
yeah, Avalon Hill. Oh, Avalon Hill's putting it out. It's probably going to be decent because they're pretty picky about that.
I liked
Not anymore.
I liked Avalon Hill, and then they were also bought by Hasbro.
Yes, by the Borg. Yes, and then we're not so happy. If E. Gary Gygax would have spun up a sci-fi game or a cyberpunk or something like that. Oh, I'd have bought it to check it out
Uh, I
because he had really established himself
Well,
with
I'd
Dungeons and
compare it
I
Dragons.
just
to
hang on just a second. I just want to cut in just for a second and say goodnight to Honorhawk, and we absolutely are looking forward to having you back on 319.
yeah, I'd compare it to like being interested in who did the art for the game is similar to like, as opposed to like, oh, this movie's directed by Paul Thomas Anderson or Steven Spielberg, whatever. Instead, you're like, oh, this cinematographer for this movie is Robert Elswit or
Yeah, you tend
Dean
not to
Deakins.
care as much, right?
That's more that's more niche, but
Frank Frazetta
I
did
mean,
the artwork. Yeah, but he did the artwork for everything. They just licensed
well,
it and slapped it on the box. Stop it.
but wait a minute. Would you watch a movie because John Williams did the score?
No.
no, that's what I'm saying. That's like
Or
less and but I mean, there are people out there that probably would give the movie, like when I hear Cliff Martinez did the soundtrack to a movie, I'm interested all of a sudden. I want to see it.
because I'm trying to think. There were a couple of movies. The movie themselves were terrible. Um, but they were really beautiful. Like they were almost worth watching. Just like mute them
What
and
dreams
watch
may
them.
come.
I don't know. I kind of liked the guy who did Fifth Element
Luc
did a
Besson.
Luc Besson.
a second movie like years later, and
He's done a lot of movies. There's Wasabi. There's Big Blue.
it
La
was
Femme
based
Nikita.
it was based on on a comic, and it did
Oh
not
yeah.
get good ratings, but it was really pretty to look at.
No, yeah. It started with a V. The Planets of the, what was it called? I know what you're talking about. I want to say Vivarium, but that is that Jesse Eisenberg movie.
Yeah, so I totally agree with this. John Williams' music has saved a lot of movies.
Oh yeah,
Sure.
that John Williams documentary is ace.
Right, but
Something else.
John Williams' music is not going to save Prometheus.
No.
Prophetic, I think I kind of agree with you this here too. I have seen good movies. Good. I love horror, but I'm really
Yeah.
picky about which horror. I love stuff that has really good practical graphics, things that have really like I love Nosferatu because I was really into reading about the tech stuff and how they got the lighting effects by having just lit candles and
Candles.
like putting them out and relighting them and moving them. And um I loved I'm trying to think of the other one. Um
Well, like you hear about like horror movies. Like sometimes a movie is like not that great, but it's got some really good kill scenes in it and makes the whole movie worth watching. Especially if they're like, like traumatizing, they stay with you. It's like you don't even remember. Like Kill List, I was recommending that, man. That movie's awesome, but really the only part that really sticks with you is that hammer scene. You're like, good lord. Same, and Rob Bottin, he's one of my favorites. Edward Goodwin's back in the backstage again somehow. Um, yeah, I mean that is
He's just trying to escape all he can. That's all.
Well,
Yeah.
earlier, when Peter Jackson was using Weta for all their stuff, and then Weta started branching out doing other movies, that was like, oh, Weta did the special effects. Oh, okay, cool. Because
ILM, Stan Winston. I mean, if you saw that, Rabutin, yeah.
Oh, here we go. Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets.
There, Valerian. I was right. Valerium was what I was saying. I was close.
Very, very close.
Vivarium, Valerian. Those are two
Valium.
similar. Valium. Well, something else I wanted to expand upon what they were asking about, like this incompetence, this spread of mediocrity across Hollywood, producers making terrible decisions. I think two other reasons for that are this widespread nepotism that's gone on for many generations.
Yep.
So at this point, like obviously, like qualified people aren't getting the jobs, but the people that are getting the jobs have been great grandfathered in to the point where like they're becoming less and less competent. And they're like coke-addled, rich kids who are just, doing what their grandpappy did and what their dad did. And, but the other problem is in Hollywood, especially, there's just this like, you got to put off this like illusion of success, even if you're not successful. So like, you can't just be going around saying, oh, this didn't work and this sucked and all this. It's constantly like, oh, this was fantastic. It's a huge success. It's always like showboating and talking everything
it's all
up.
social status and social signaling.
Well, there's also
so new people don't understand how bad things are, and they're just doing what everyone else is doing because it seems to be working.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's the other big thing is that you see cargo culting so much, and the reason is they don't understand why things work, how to do things. Partly because they didn't actually come up and have to start out doing, I'm doing home movies, I'm doing, little student films, documentaries, and all that, and you work your way up to being, a director for a major movie. But I think the other thing is that they look around and they see, if you've had nothing but slop for a generation, the next generation is going to learn that. They're not going to go back and look at stuff from the 30s or 40s, right? And that's a problem because now you just compound the slop.
Yeah. Well, back to what Percy was saying. That's crazy that most people she thinks Howling is better than American Werewolf in London. Most people think American Werewolf in London Transportation.
Howling
is better.
has one of the best.
Yeah, it's it's great. I love that one.
Yeah.
Howling's awesome. Howling 6 is a fun one too. If you guys haven't seen that one, Common People, dude, he told me to check out this show for the love of DILFs. We watched the trailer live. Damn you, Common People! There was a lot of dudes making out on my show, and then Cinevere popped in out of nowhere. And she's 100% convinced I'm gay. I'm convinced I'm gay after that stream.
Well,
I'm like,
I don't know. Gay? You've watched too many women wrestling in
We
pools.
were watching a show called Playing It Straight, which was a reality show from 2004. Wow. It was one of the gayest live streams ever yesterday on my channel, 2 days ago on my channel. Not just on my channel, but like out of all live streams.
Ever, yeah.
It was one of the gayest live streams ever put to YouTube. It was amazing. I'm proud of that.
So as far as visuals go, ooh, I just got bread ice cream.
Oh,
nice. Fresh from the goat.
I think it's cow's milk. Or ice cream these days might not actually have any milk in it at all.
No,
so.
In fact, that's why you got to get the ones that are expensive pints, like Ben and Jerry's and Haagen-Dazs and those ones. Those are the ones that usually are using real milk. Tillamook. Tillamook's my new favorite store brand of ice cream.
It is absolutely amazing. And I discovered it about 3 weeks before I discovered I couldn't eat soy.
That sucks.
And guess what's in it?
Soy.
So I have a couple of flavors of Haagen-Dazs and some that, like in Canada, they can't be described as ice cream. They are like an ice cream. They are a milk-like dessert.
Yeah. The cheapest ice cream. That's always fun to get that big tub of Neapolitan.
Hey, there is so few snacky things I can have now that I will take what I can get. So
there you go.
Anyway, I started to say, So as far as graphics go, this is one of those debates, and this is a book debate, not a game debate. But I'm gonna give it to you anyway. In books, is the graphic on the front cover more important or on the spine?
Ooh.
Guess that depends how big the book is,
Right.
because like
Yeah.
if you're getting enough push from the publisher that the bookstores are putting it cover side out, then you know what to emphasize.
Oh, so you mean size as like how big the company is publishing, not
Right.
how big the actual book is? Because books seem to be getting bigger all the time.
Right. And you realize like, yeah, when you're usually looking for books, the spine has to draw your attention before you even pull it out and look at the cover, and then the cover might interest you to actually open the book, or look at the back blurb or whatever. So yeah, maybe the spine is the most important. But then again, like I said, the literal size of the book is important too, because if you got like a tiny little, soft cover, tiny little, what was it, paperback, or a little, I don't know, like a comic book, for instance, there are no spines, so you got to have the awesome cover there. Um, but
I mean, paperbacks used to be quite small and hardcovers used to be huge.
yeah,
But I vastly preferred the smaller books because they're like, I mean, most of the reading I get to do is before I go to sleep. And if you drop a large book on your head because you've fallen asleep while reading, it really hurts.
right.
Um,
Totally.
but nowadays, even the paperbacks are like gigantic, and there's not enough room on my bookshelves.
I think that's partly because of the Kindle generation. Like they gotta make these Kindle readers like the reason to buy the book is because it's an awesome big oversized print or something. I don't know.
Well, I think you have, so there's kind of three levels. The you have the paperbacks that are the cheaper version of the hardback, and those tend to be larger in size. Then you have the old school paperbacks,
The pulp.
yeah, the pulp style, right? Those are still the same tiny size they always were, and as you get older, it get harder to see.
Yeah, yeah. And then you want to get the bigger type, bigger font
Yeah,
face, and
yeah.
then therefore they get a bigger page count, bigger spine. So, interesting.
Also, spine matters. It depends on what you're trying to emphasize. So, if it's a well-known author, then they're going to emphasize the name,
Yeah,
right? If it's a well-known title, then they're going to emphasize the title of it. And if it's just, I don't know what the hell, good luck trying to get enough art on the spine to attract somebody. Other than maybe,
yeah.
you do a little
It's
gold
that's
leaf or something like
that's
that.
logo
Like the top.
design. You got to have
Yeah,
a cool logo for your book title or
right.
whatever. Yeah. I look at my old Calvin and Hobbes books, and each one has like a different, the title,
Yeah.
just like all big and different fonts stuff. They all stand out.
Those damn killer snow goons that'll get you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would say actually, yeah, you're making me realize, like, yeah, the spine is super important. Because I mean, I guess a lot of people do buy their books online, in which case the cover is more important. But then again, even when you own a book, you put it on your bookshelf probably with the spine facing out.
Right.
So, and especially when you got those collections, they always have like sometimes like the comic book collections, for instance, will have like an awesome like huge illustration that goes
Yeah, when
across
you
the
stack them all
volumes.
together,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
That's why if you're missing the one volume, you have to get all of them because yeah. Normally, if there's nothing on them except numbers and letters and stuff, and then you can be missing a few chapters, and it won't bother the OCD people. What was that awesome book? Or Mouth of Madness? Oh, the covers,
Yeah.
the cover art finds Hobbs End.
What bothers me is when they
I'm
put out.
alive.
Whoa,
Oh my goodness! It's the Birdman.
I am so sorry.
you're
You
fine.
sound exhausted.
Oh my, dude, I committed to doing this, and I was like, oh, whatever. I'll be at work while it's happening, but work is never. It's evening times, and then just massive like issue hit right as like 10 minutes before the stream started. And I just feel like such an asshole. I'm so sorry.
I mean, the FBI didn't apparently break down your door and force you to delete your
Yeah, are
entire
you
life.
deleting
So
your
Yeah.
socials? Is that a?
Yeah,
Sounds like
I'm
that's a
not.
thing
I'm
that's
not going
going
that far
around.
yet. No.
what I started to say was what I really hate is when they put out like 3 or 4 books that are one size, and then they change the size of the book.
Mhm.
That, oh man, my
Yikes.
yeah, it upsets my sense of balance. So, it is 10 past 11. And since Leon apparently has like 30 seconds he might be able to spare, you want to give us a quick rundown on Call of Cthulhu without scaring the bird?
I mean, it's more one of those games where, like, I mean, who doesn't love Lovecraftian horror? I mean, as far as the setting goes, it's amazing. It really puts you in like that. Assuming you've got a good game master who's doing it well. Like that, just that sense of 1930s sort of dread. That like Great Depression era. Not really fantasy. I don't really know what words I want to use, but basically, it's think of real 1930s history, but then you're gonna add castles. You're going forgotten castles or like abandoned shore-based cities. You've got this
Yeah.
incredible sanity mechanic, which is so unique for a tabletop RPG because I mean whether or not like how well you manage that sanity is what's going to affect your being able to tell what is and isn't real. It affects your rolls. It gives you negative multipliers. It's a really really unique game for anyone that loves things like D&D or Pathfinder or whatever, but also wants that like just cosmic horror to it. Especially if you've got a good DM that knows how to you hit the lights, you play it by candlelight, you get some sound effects going on the TV in the background that's just like some moaning or rattling chains or just unnerving ambient
The
music,
wave, the
rain
ocean.
sound. What?
I would say the ocean, waves,
Yeah, the ocean.
storms.
Yeah. He said the ocean, and yeah, it's a brilliant game. I don't know where to start and stop and whatnot. My bad.
You need at
Um,
least one aquarium going.
Considering that it's so different from most other games, can you talk about the insanity system some?
Yeah. So basically, you go through your encounters, or you're in not even just encounters of creatures and whatnot, but whatever location you're in, it's going to vary game to game, GM to GM, or I assume module to module. I've never played it with a module. I'm very big on all games I play are almost always homebrewed. I mean, you obviously use the manual and whatnot for rules, but you homebrew your setting, your story, your characters, the whole nine. And you're going to need to make certain checks for like, oh, you heard something and did it when you hear it, how bad does it affect you? Or you're looking in a mirror and like, you make it a sanity check, and if you fail it or you perform poorly, like you might see like your face start to morph, or maybe there's something in the mirror behind you, and you turn around, you roll another check to see if it's actually there. It's and um, basically just the more you pass or fail, maintaining that sanity will affect the course of how I don't want to say easy to progress it is, but basically just the stability of your player character throughout the course of the game.
Yeah,
Are you better
modifies
off
your dice rolls
if it is?
afterwards for sanity and things like that.
What was that good one? Sorry.
Once your sanity level drops to a certain level, it modifies rolls that you have for further sanity, so you're more and more likely to see things that aren't real.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and once you hit there is a maximum or minimum. I don't remember if it's maximum or minimum. It's been a while since I've played, but where there's a maximum or minimum sanity you hit to where you go up, officially insane. There's no coming back from it. It's effectively like a player kill.
Right.
Are you better off if something is behind you that you saw in the mirror or not?
I mean, I guess it depends on how you build your character. Because if you've got like a more combat oriented character and something's actually behind you, if you make a good sanity check, if you like if you see this horrifying creature and you pass your sanity roll, you're like, okay, I know this is real, but you're like, I can kill it, or maybe you want to flee. The sanity check is more just there for how whatever seeing or experiencing this stuff affects you mentally, not necessarily how you deal with it, if that makes sense.
Well, I was just thinking, I'm trying to figure out if I'd be more upset to discover that I was seeing things or that there was in fact something terrible behind me.
I mean, I would rather the thing be behind me personally, but then again, that's I don't want to be insane. I would rather die knowing that I'm going to die as opposed to just not knowing what is and isn't real. That sounds terrifying. That's like some Alzheimer's shit. You don't want to go down like that.
Smilex, he might be appealing to the elephants in the room.
Yeah, I noticed the zoo was moving
Yeah,
some people around.
I thought the same thing. Leon's voice is sounding deep.
I'm overcoming a sickness.
I know. The sickness is drowning in poon.
I don't know. Adam was talking about Goodwin,
Yeah, they're
who
talking about
always
me.
who always
Oh,
sounds
my
low
bad.
and bassy to me.
Yeah, I
Oh,
agree.
Goodwin is one of those very few voices I would be able to tolerate with a migraine.
oh,
Unless you get him watching anime
sweet.
that has weird jokes and faces.
Then I have the migraine. That's the biggest problem.
The only thing I ever used to be able to listen to when I had a migraine was Leonard Cohen because he had a voice that was as deep as Goodwin's
Oh,
is.
Yes,
love Leonard Cohen.
you just had everybody knows on loop, and
Uh, I had a friend in college who was blind who introduced me to Leonard Cohen, and it was great because he didn't care if I sat in the dark and listened to his CDs all day.
Yeah, I guess
Uh,
your blind friends would have been fans of like Stevie Wonder or something. Don't they all know each other?
dude,
Uh,
people doing like the 7-minute version of Hallelujah at karaoke all the
oh
time.
god,
My God.
I like the song, but honestly, I think it was not one of his best ones.
No, and it
It's sort
totally
of like
overstays its welcome, like "Hey Jude" or something. You're just like, come
well,
on.
Yeah.
it's like Jimmy Buffett. Margaritaville was the worst song he ever wrote, but it's the only one anybody plays.
Cheeseburger in Paradise. That was a metaphor for Epstein Island, I think.
Jetfire 84, welcome.
My keyboard player me to do. We wanted us to do a Jimmy Buffett tribute band called Jammy Buffett. I was into it, but we never got it to work. We never got it down. Whatever.
All of you go out in your PJs.
Yeah. I'm in my PJs right now. Ugh.
I do want to say thank you for inviting me on. I apologize again. I feel so fucking bad. I'm sorry,
No,
Goody.
it's fine. How cold is it over there, Leon? Who's cold?
With wind chill, -3.
What about you, Goat? Is it colder where you're at?
Last time I checked the weather, it was 27 here, which means I didn't even need a jacket.
Wow. Okay.
then I win.
It
What?
is currently
Alright.
17.
Hopefully this will be quick this time. I'll be
Wow.
back.
Yeah, it is.
It is currently 17.
It's currently 6 here with a -8 wind chill factor, and we're supposed to
Awesome.
get down to -13 tonight,
I think I'm in
and
the.
that ought to be spicy with some wind.
I think it's like almost 40 degrees here. I think we got a low of like it's 31. Woo. Okay. I think we got a low of like 29 tonight, and that's like the lowest it's gonna get all week.
All right. Leon has bopped back out. Goodwin, you want to talk to us about your game? And that should about. I try and go to about the 45-minute and then let everybody talk about where they're going to be and what they're going to be doing so that.
All right. Well, my game is Diplomacy. It was started as a play by mail game. Think of Risk, but with no dice, and there is no here you take a turn, you take a turn, you take a turn. There is the turn where everybody negotiates with everybody else about what the hell they're going to do, and then you do it. And much backstabbing results, and many things are thrown. And I started playing this when I first got to college, and I was one of like 3 white guys on my dorm floor, and most of the floor were athletes. So you can imagine how spicy these games got, where guys are like starting to throw shit, and people will get into wrestling matches over bullshit, or you may have to dodge a few swings or whatever. And these would go like all weekend playing this. We would just stay up, playing it, and the everything is like if you do an alliance, everything has expiration date, or you're setting somebody up. You promise you're going to do something for one person to make them weaken themselves, and then you immediately attack them. It is it was quite the game. I think I bought my and I still have my box set from 1990. And I think it was still being published by Avalon Hill then. And then
And that was before they were bought out by Hasbro, right?
yeah, yeah. Well, I think they may have been bought up by like Wizards of the Coast or something first, and then got bought. I know they went through like multiple acquisitions, but the cool thing is, so it's basically if you have more units than your opponent, you win, right? So there's no dice. It is just go, right? There's no chance. It is all a matter of negotiation and playing, and it's based on a map that's like pre World War One, just heading into World War One.
So you're saying that Americans would know the geography even less well than
Yeah, but the good news is there's less to know because you're going to have much larger empires, and you don't
you'd
have
have
to
to
worry
know
about.
geography and history.
Yeah, the Balkans aren't a thing. It's all part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire.
Yeah, I agree with Norseman. I've been in some heated games before, but I'm having a hard time imagining starting a bar fight over it.
Well, again, you've got 19-year-old guys that are full of testosterone, and a lot of them are athletes, so they're already hyper competitive, and we just go at each other. I mean, I almost got in a fight with somebody in my dorm about who slept longer.
I mean, there's so many jokes there.
I'm just saying.
That's funny.
We talked
the
one
chat-
guy who was he was in the reserves. He was doing ROTC, but he was like also in the marching band, so he's not that great a physical specimen. But he started beefing with Qzilla, who was the starting nose tackle. He was like 5'11", 285. And so we get GI Rich wound up where man, come on, man, you're a soldier, you whoop Q's ass, what the hell? And so he goes and decides he's gonna. We are all been following him because this is the kind of shit that would happen. You would get people hyping up other things and starting fights that didn't even involve them, right? So we go in to the shower where Q is showering, and GI Rich is like, fuck you, Q. I'm taking this, that, whatever. And Q turns to him and with the ultimate disrespect takes the bar of soap and starts washing his dick while singing G.I. Joe, Cobra Commander. And that was, we lost our shit. We were laughing so hard. They never had anybody been
That's time to come
dismissed.
back in.
You just missed the whole dick washing story.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's what I'm saying. I very much heard that.
Yeah.
I was listening. I just couldn't speak, and when I was busy. But yeah, that's beautiful.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Prophetic is exactly right.
In the military, we got in a bar fight pretty much over who was going to get into a bar fight.
Yeah, what was it? National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon, where he's like, "This guy's gun happy," and he pulls his gun out. What makes you think I'm gun happy?
Yeah.
Have you ever played Munchkin?
No.
Oh, I used to play with my dad all the time back in like high school and stuff. But it's been years.
Yeah, so it's the one thing that's keeping Steve Jackson games like functioning and capable. They make so much money off Munchkin that they basically can do passion projects with like everything else they make. It's a card game that is basically I've always thought it was a spoof of Dungeons and Dragons, but now I believe it is a spoof off both Diplomacy and Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, cool.
Perfect. Man, Steve Jackson games in the 80s and early 90s, they were the bomb. Then they got raided by the FBI over Cyberpunk, and that was fun.
Yeah, so funny story about that. Tom Kane, who was on my show several weeks ago,
Oh.
was working for Steve Jackson Games at the time,
At the time, yep.
and lost an entire book.
Yeah.
He was writing espionage at the time, and it was one of the 2 books that, despite a court order, Steve Jackson Games refused to give back, or the FBI refused to give back
FBI, yeah.
to Steve Jackson Games. So he had to start all over again.
Yeah, in fact, I believe in the edition of Cyberpunk that came out, the GURPS version that came out after they dealt with all the bullshit, and the FBI would not give back, some of the rule books or whatever. In the forward, it credits the FBI for editing.
I did not know that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we still tease Tom about that. I make jokes all the time about, like, how many of my friends have to have FBI files before I just automatically have one because I'm affiliated with them.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, to be fair, someone who was supposed to be on the panel tonight might have one now.
yeah.
Yikes. Hey, apparently you can play Diplomacy online, which makes sense.
Right, yeah, because it was originally play by mail.
Right.
I mean, that would prevent the bar fights.
It does. It does. Well, I mean, sometimes. Fuck that. I'm taking a trip.
Leon, what were you saying?
I was gonna say I haven't played it in years. This is another one I used to play with my dad. I'm curious if anyone he's ever played it. Guillotine.
Oh, I've seen that one. I've never played it, but I have seen the.
Yeah, it sounds familiar.
It was. I wish I remember more about it. Other than it was a lot of fun when I used to. It's like you get the whole family around the table, and it's like a silly, fun card game based around the French Revolution, and you're cutting like there's certain real historical figures in the game, and so if you were able to like get them in the guillotine, you get bonus points. But then there's just general archetypes like the heretic, the town drunk, the town like harlot, things like that. And basically, you're trying, if I remember correctly, you're trying to find reasons to get them in the guillotine.
All right.
Yeah, they still make it because I see it a whole lot at my.
Yep, that's the one.
Local,
Yeah, that's it.
Wizards of the Coast.
I didn't know it was Watsy. Well, now I feel bad bringing it up because fuck Watsy.
Well, it may have been somebody else when you played it, and then they acquired
That's true.
it like
That's
they did
true. This
everything
was
else.
15, 16 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, you
But
want
yeah.
to be Robespierre because you'll at least make it close to the end. Of course, the ending for you will be bad, but
Yeah, the issue is that it's less. I don't know. Part of it is WotC, but part of it is Hasbro, and it is so hard to find a game company now. It's one of the reasons I try to bring on independent creators so often. It is so hard to find games that aren't made
like
by
a Glomco,
by a
Right.
company that Hasbro owns, or GW. I mean, try
Yeah.
and find a minis game that GW doesn't make.
Mm-hmm.
I've tried really hard to get, whoever somebody new owns BattleTech these days.
Yeah, but
That's
even
the-
Battletech, if I recall, because I'm pretty sure I actually did a video on this. It's probably been a year and a half ago about them pulling some of the same chicanery as Watsy.
They have, but I think not to the same extent, and definitely not to the same extent that like GW has been doing. And so I am not. My husband is a minis person by quite a lot. Like the largest room in our house is entirely packed with his stuff. But I do love the Song of Ice and Fire minis game. Like that's really good, and it's not. I'm trying to remember because we were talking earlier about will you ever buy a game just because of the company that makes it, and I was thinking there was one, and I think it might be the whoever makes the Song of Ice and Fire.
There was because I'm not big on like when I play D&D and stuff like that. I'm not big on using minis. I just like to use draw on the map and things like that.
Right.
Just because I'm terrible painting minis. But there was a Star Wars minis game back in like 2005. I think it was like called Galaxy of Heroes or something. Damn, I wish I remembered. I only played it a couple times at the local game shop, but it was really interesting.
There's a one or two really big Star. I actually was going to mention this when they were talking about Star Wars board games being terrible. There is a really couple of really good. Well, at least those people who do minis tell me there's a couple of really good Star Wars minis games out now.
There's an old one that I actually have. It's over in my game area called Star Wars Epic Duels. It's more of a board game, but yeah, I still have that, all the pieces and everything. Love it.
We started out talking about graphics. Look at the graphics on this sucker.
A lot of gold leaf.
And every single house has their own set of miniatures.
Of course it does.
Um,
I mean,
so you
that may compete with 40K for expense, although may not have as many lore books.
actually they're not. I mean, I bought my Lannister, so I have the Lannister set. Except it turned out because every house plays differently. They tried really hard to make them like the book.
Right.
So like the Lannisters are very about being kind of sneaky and manipulative and that kind of stuff. The the wild folk are, have giants and things like that. The Targaryens have dragons, and you have to like learn a different style for every house. Well, it turned out I was really terrible at playing as the Lannisters because I'm not that smart. But the Lannisters come with the mountain. And with a little finagling, you can turn the Lannister army into a mountain army
Oh, there you go.
and just roll over everything.
Yeah. I'm guessing Tywin Lannister would have been pretty good at diplomacy.
So you have to have two that are kind of off to the side that do political stuff no matter which house you're doing.
Right.
And he's pretty good for that. There are two versions of him. You can either use him as a diplomat or you can use him on the battlefield.
Right.
But yeah, the mountain, you can get the mountain, you can get the hound, you can get the pyros that have the Greek fire and are completely nuts. You can get, the mountains cavalry, and they're just you basically you have to spend a ton of points because it's a point-based system, and you can just make your own army based on X number of points.
Right.
They're all so expensive you don't get very many, but if you put them together right, yeah, I think it makes a better army than the Lannister army ever did.
I think I want the Hound as my diplomat.
So because I have a very twisted sense of humor, I had the Hound leading the pyros.
Oh, yes, that he would definitely not be a fan of that. Yeah.
Well, because the pyros are really powerful initially, but every time you roll a one of them dies. They basically burn themselves up. The Hound allows you to re-roll all ones for any team that he's commanding.
Oh, well, there you go.
Which means I took a team that's supposed to be dead within like 3 turns, and just I think 2 of them were dead at the end of the game.
Mechanically, this game sounds fantastic. That said, I have no knowledge on anything Game of Thrones related. So
It's so most minis games are based on like you get X number of they're like chess. They're like a really complicated version of chess where the board changes all the time and the pieces change all the time. Whereas the Song of Ice and Fire, the reason I like it better is that you move them in squads. So instead of having to keep track of like 20 different pieces, you have like 5 squads. And instead of trying to save individual pieces, it's about keeping squads intact.
Right.
And it's much more manageable for my.
sounds a lot like the Fire Emblem video games, at least the OG ones. I've heard the modern ones suck. I don't know, but like sounds a lot like the Fire Emblem video games.
For my brain, which has trouble, focusing on many tiny things all at once, having a few large things, it works much better.
Have you
Would you consider? Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
So, would you consider Hero Clicks a minis game? I don't know if that's in the same vein or not.
I would say yeah.
Okay, played the shit out of that growing up. Absolutely loved Hero Clicks.
My husband used to do demos for the company, so we had a ridiculous number of them at one point in time. But I never played it.
I literally
But
played.
yeah, I would definitely say it's a minis game.
Yeah, me and my dad played together from literally the very first set that ever dropped. It was he got me so many because they came in like you could buy a starter set but you could also get like the packs of 4. And it was almost like trading cards where you open it up and it's random. I remember he and I spent weeks trying to get a Spider-Man, dude, because that Spider-Man was my guy. And like when we eventually got one, it was so cathartic.
I remember when like tabletop wargaming was still a big thing. Amongst like the history guys, they would have like set up like Civil War or Waterloo or things like that, and then play it out to see if they could get better outcomes, things like that. And you would just walk in and it was like you know a a huge table with all the terrain set up and all that, so that like figures that were behind the hills could not see, or if you were shooting, you had to blind fire unless you had spotters and all that. I mean, it was ludicrously complicated, and I just looked at it and was like, how many thousands of dollars do you have into these armies that you guys play? And they were always like,
Bro, that
the guys that would normally have like train sets that were like the size of a garage. They were like, yeah, fuck those trains. We're gonna have armies and fight, historical stuff. Okay.
that was why I always
Yeah.
made like the extent of my playing things like why my Warhammer 40, because I've played my fair share of Warhammer 40K, but I've never owned any. I've always just made friends with people who already had their own army, something like that. And I was like, all right, I'll just use yours, because like that's the best way to get into minifig games. You get a friend that's obsessed with them, and you just use theirs to play with them.
Mm-hmm.
There is in New England, there is, I don't remember exactly when it is, but there is a weekend that is nothing but historical wargaming, where they literally just reenact historical battles.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like OG war games, like what original D&D was based off of.
No, before that. I mean, it's so that the tabletop war games, D&D pulled some of it, but it also has a lot of other stuff that's going on with it. The OG war games were literally. I mean, you built the terrain. You had all of the units lined up, right, and in the formations.
That's what I was referring to, like the
Yeah,
stuff that
that you
Gary
would
Gygax
start.
was playing before he ever even
Right.
came up with D&D, like what he was playing before
Right.
this. Is
Yeah, that
what
was
you're
really what
referring to?
existed at that time, and I remember there were still some old school guys, that owned like game shops that still did that, and you'd go into like the back room areas where they would play, and yeah, it was huge, these giant setups, and it's like, what the hell do you know? It's the Battle of Waterloo. It's like, holy shit, how
Yeah,
mu- how much
I,
money do you have in this?
yeah, I just looked it up. There is a historical wargamers association in New England. They do a convention called Huzzah, which apparently is in May in Portland. And it's just
Old school wargaming.
historical reenacting old school games.
Bro,
Yeah.
in Portland, you ain't gonna find a single pair of skinny jeans at that convention. You love to see it.
I mean, it's probably going to be a lot of flannel.
Yes.
There might still be snow on the ground here at that point. But yeah, it's fairly big. It's not terribly expensive to get into, and there are a lot of people that just plain old um love what they're doing and love
Yeah,
to
because
teach people.
yeah, a lot of those, like the old school war gamers, would have separate units, and they would have commanders. You commanded your unit. You would get orders passed down to you, and then go do the thing. But you were involved in your battle with whomever was your opposite or whatever. I mean, it
Oh,
was.
that's really cool.
Yeah, you could get, you would have like this giant battle set up, and you could have 15, 20 people on each side.
Huh? Would you look at that? Yeah, that seems really cool. I've never played an actual OG war game. I mean, I would just love to spectate. That seems like such a cool thing.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was.
they're very big in New England. When you're not at the convention, there are a lot of the small game stores will have like one weekend a month where that's just all they do.
Yeah.
You get guys who are really big history buffs, and they'll do Civil War and World War II and Vietnam and medieval battles and
Yep.
lumberjack convention. I assume you meant lumberjack convention.
Yeah, well, or that,
Well, for
or it'll
me,
look like
lumberjack.
Oshkosh by gosh overalls outlet, because A lot of those guys are older, and they'll be wearing their overalls.
Big Ship, you said what was it called again? I'm sorry, I missed it earlier. What?
He was
What?
talking about the Song of Ice and Fire game.
Excuse me.
Oh, the Song of Ice and Fire stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
What was it called?
it's literally just called the Song of
the
Ice and
Song of
Fire,
Ice
and
and
there are
Fire.
different.
Expansions.
Except they're not expansions. There are literally. There are literally. It's like chess, except that you have different pieces, and there are entirely different organizations for every house in the books.
Mm.
I was trying to figure out how many different houses they have now, because as the books went on, and like they started making some for the television show and different television. So there are the Starks, there are the Boltons, Greyjoys, Martells, Targaryens, Baratheons. The Baratheons are what I wanted to play, but they weren't out at the time. Night's Watch, the Free Folk. There are neutral, like mercenary types. So if you're playing teams, you basically are just hired out by whatever team you're playing. The Lannisters, the Brotherhood Without Banners, and apparently that's it right now. So I thought there was one other, but they don't. If they are, they're not. But then again, like within each house, you have like their sublords that like lead troops that you can pick from.
Right.
So, but all right, it is 7:42. So before Leon is forced away again, Leon, why don't you tell us where you are, what you're doing,
Actually, this is my
and then go
only
take a nap?
stream. I'll take a nap when I'm off work at 9. But no, this is my only stream of the day for once. Only one stream a day. That is so wild. I can't remember the last time I only did one stream a day. And nah, for what I was able to be present for, I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much. It's been a long time coming. It took a while to try and get it together, just because you and I have this very same sentiments about WotC and D&D, and I mean I got my start as an anti WotC channel, hence the name Words of Paradise. Magic card Birds of Paradise. So yeah, this was just a great conversation all around. I've dropped 3 videos today. Feel free to go check those out. And beyond that, no, I just want to say thank you very much.
Anything else, Hondo? What else, Hondo saying?
Hondo, just let Hondo cook.
Chris Hunter, Gamma World is. I missed this earlier. Sorry. Gamma World is on my list of games to bring up at some point. So, well, thank you very much. I'm sorry that, especially on top of the fact that you've been ill recently and ended up being so chaotic today. So, but I'm really glad that you
They
managed
say
to.
it comes in threes, and this was the third thing, so hopefully it's smooth sailing from here. Knock on wood.
I was gonna say, I hope there's actual wood instead of press board there.
Yes, it was actual wood, just off camera.
Good. Good one.
Yeah.
Your
Uh,
Highness, where are you gonna be?
Yeah, later tonight I'll be on Zax's channel when we discuss Reacher Season 2. I guess in anticipation of, was it having an offshoot of the Reacherverse or something debuting, either Season 3, I don't know. Season 2 soured me on it, so I don't care.
Well, it's funny, yeah. Zach's messaged me. He goes, "Hey Leon, have you seen Reacher?" And I was like, "Only season 1." He's like, "Smart man. Never mind."
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was like, sure, I'm happy to kick it right into Jimmy. Season 2 was crap. But yeah, and then Thursday I'll be on Gooch's stream doing Kaiju number 8. And
That'll be really neat. I hate the fact that I miss Zax's so frequently, but it is so late here when he starts that
yeah.
someday maybe when I stop sleeping.
Oh, sure.
I mean, I have a hard time making it through B-sides.
Yeah, well, so do I actually, but for different reasons.
I was gonna say, but that's just because you don't appreciate the glorious cheesiness that is
Yeah,
those
yeah.
movies.
The cheese is gone, but unfortunately, it's all Limburger that Adam serves up, and so
Just put,
Cottage cheese, the milk
yeah.
you can chew.
I mean, I like cottage cheese.
I do too.
I do too. I love cottage cheese.
Chewy milk.
Stupenzo, thank you very much for coming in. I think like 40 minutes before the show was supposed to start. I
No
really
worries.
appreciate you coming in, and the conversation was great. I really appreciate all your graphics knowledge and the conversation we managed to have from that. So
We're gonna wing it. Yeah, it was
After that
fun. Thanks for having me.
story, I appreciate all your graphic knowledge, Goodwin.
Ew. Naughty.
I'm
Um,
gonna go ahead and just delete all of my socials right now. I just
Yeah.
want to fit in with
That's what
the
I'm
other
doing
panelists.
right
Yep.
now.
Yep.
Nuking my channel.
Yep.
Nuking the.
It's all gotta go. Everything must go.
No.
as long as you're not leaving like cryptic, scary messages behind, like that's the worst part of it.
Sorry to
They're
do this to
coming.
you, and just leave. Yeah, I'm fine. I got my stupid show. We just watched premiered a We Watch commentary for the movie Whore earlier today, 1991. Full length commentary. Managed to sneak that by copyright. And yeah, it was not a bad movie. It wasn't great, but it was fun. It was interesting. That was cool. And then, yeah, like I said, I specialize in the late night streams. Did a real fun one Tuesday. I'll do another fun one Sunday night, Monday morning at midnight after Gooch's Gooch and Gang. Yeah, we do a lot of tomfoolery, a lot of shenanigans and goof-offery. So check it out.
Was it not copyrighted because no one wanted to admit to making a movie called Whore?
No, that's the thing. Is like I uploaded it in full, and I'm like, hey, got past the copyright. Cool. And I was like, well, let me take this overlay off, because I got this heavy overlay on, and I took it off, and it's like, no, it got blocked, but it got blocked by some bogus copyright company called LDS that apparently just like claim crap they don't really own. So I think even if it did, so it could get taken down any minute now. But if it does, I think I could get a dispute up past them. We'll see. Right now, everything's fine. The video's up. Check it out while it's still there, or one of the other 100-something, 30-something movies I've watched on my channel. Me and Leon got Basket Case coming up soon. We should record the sequels too before that happens.
We should. I agree.
When you feel better.
The I don't know. It feels like the copyright thing has just become a game with companies. I mean,
It
the WB literally copyrighted a section of the Green Mile that was me talking.
I know. It's a
Like-
game that I like to play, and I frequently win. But I'll accept L's occasionally. I got like 135 movies I did, and I think I only got like two or three L's I've gotten where I had the video taken down to the US. I'll upload it on Rumble though, so no big deal.
Well,
Yeah.
you're the reason I got my Green Mile one up.
Right.
So
Thank you.
Yeah, ask Estupenzo about his Matrix marathon
Right.
and the WB showing up. Yeah.
I had to re-upload it. I edited it, re-uploaded it on YouTube. Nope, they didn't like it. I was going through slides, no audio, so fast that Warner Brothers claimed that and blocked it. But it's up on Rumble. 10-hour discussion of the first Matrix movie.
wow.
That's a movie we could dive into. And it's funny because I was like, Gord King was there for the bulk of it, and I still think of stuff that we forgot to bring up, or I still hear new takes on the Matrix, and I'm like, wow, good
Yeah.
movie.
Well, again, thank you very much for the last minuteness. Thank you to Leon, and I don't know, what does one call an emperor? His Highness, Your Majesty, whatever.
Lord and
Good-
Master of all
Lord
I
Goodwin.
survey.
Lord Goodwin. Thank you very much for this, mildly chaotic stream. Thank you to everyone in the chat for the mildly chaotic stream and for being patient. I'd really appreciate it if everyone would like and subscribe if you haven't done so already and are willing. I hope that this really was me at my. They did great. This is me at my worst. So if you enjoyed this, you're going to like everything else better. I promise. I am the Eclectic Goat. I am here on Discord and on Twitter under the same name. I have a channel that mainly deals with the television shows, books, movies, and obviously games that people don't necessarily get enough attention and people don't necessarily appreciate. Um, Lord of the Lower Octaves.
It's like Lord of the Dance, but different.
only cooler.
Yeah, a little bit. No, it's omni-impotent. That's I'm impotent for all.
Um, so let's see if I can get this. The end of this week, I am going to be working with Lord Toxic on a debate over whether or not the book or movie was better for Hannibal. Sunday, I will be on Sammy Three Peats in other news, doing the weather as always. And Monday, I will be doing my second episode of shows you've never seen, and we do believe that we have gotten the Eraserhead EV Mux fight mediated, so that they will no longer argue with each other. And the Gord Lord will be joining us as well. So that should be interesting.
Carnival is a great. That's a great show.
It's great. It's weird. Every time you watch it, you find something different. I have kind of lost track at this point about how many times I've watched the first season. And I still keep finding new stuff. And it's really great to watch it with people who've never seen it before, because they're pointing things out that I hadn't noticed. And that, like, I've seen it so many times now, I probably would not. Yeah, Eraserhead says, let's make no promises.
Yeah. Well, I think the other great thing is they'll look at it and they think they're going to be able to predict what's going to happen, and I'm like, I'm afraid you're wrong. No, you're going to have real problems predicting things.
Yeah, it's been kind of interesting, because when I made up my panel, I totally forgot that one of them is actually not only quite religious, but like very into it. And so he's like sitting there listing off passages that apply to certain scenes that I never would have noticed. So there's like Easter eggs within Easter eggs within Easter eggs, depending on whether or not you're looking for surface stuff or really deep stuff. And it's been really, I mean, fingers crossed that it continues that way. But man, the last one was very cool.
Yeah.
So, no one can possess the super mod. Yes, Eraserhead is our super mod. So, and then once again, next Wednesday we will be back here. So that's my. Oh, and I almost forgot. Please, if you have not watched it yet, the Book is Better Green Mile video is out. It did not do great, and I suspect it was because of the stalling out from the WB copyright hit. And I would really like to get that bumped a little bit. But by the end of, probably the middle of next week, I will have my underappreciated 90s tech edition out. And I'm taking votes on what I'm going to do for my next underappreciated videos. It's probably either going to be superheroes or law enforcement. So I have interesting ideas for both of those. So
Cool.
Yes, thank you very much, Eraserhead. Green Mile video. So this is comparing the book and the movie for the Green Mile. So thank you very much. Everyone have a great evening, and I hope to see you back here.
Sweet.
Bye.
Meet me at the tavern, have a drink or two. I'm the eclectic goat, and I'm here to gab with you. We'll talk about immersion, adventure heavy lows, characters and story, warlocks and barbarians and bards, comedy or horror. We got inspiration if you're in need of it, or just need to hang out somewhere cozy. We're the guys for you, we've got time for you. Come and join the crew, here's what to do. Meet us at the tavern, have have a drink or two. I'm the eclectic goat, and I'm here to play with you. We'll discuss the theory and the mechanics, how we ask for crits, Dungeons and Dragons and Wizards. Meet us at the tavern, have a drink or two. I'm the eclectic goat, and I'm here to play with you. We'll discuss the theory and the mechanics, how we ask for crits, Dungeons and Dragons and Wizards.